What if the greatest monuments of the ancient world weren't just testaments to human ingenuity, but pieces of a vast, interconnected puzzle? Picture this: you're standing beneath the towering stones of Stonehenge, tracing your fingers along the intricate carvings of Angkor Wat, or gazing up at the perfect symmetry of the Great Pyramid. At first glance, these wonders seem separated by continents and centuries, their stories isolated in history books. But look closer beyond the surface, and you'll find something astonishing. Hidden within their walls, encoded in the very angles of their architecture, lies a shared language of geometry so precise, so deliberate, it defies coincidence. This isn't just about bricks and mortar. It's about a blueprint, one that stretches across civilizations, whispering of a knowledge so advanced, it challenges everything we thought we knew about the ancient world. How could cultures who never met, who had no way of communicating, embed the same mathematical secrets into their sacred spaces? Why do temples from Egypt to Cambodia, from Greece to Mexico, align with celestial patterns and geometric ratios that mirror the fabric of the universe itself? The answers lie in what scholars call sacred geometry, a hidden code woven into the foundations of our past. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on this ancient mystery. Together, we'll follow the threads of the golden ratio, unravel the meaning behind celestial alignments, and decode the symbols that connect these sacred sites like dots on a global map. This isn't just a journey through ruins, it's a voyage into the mind of our ancestors who left behind clues pointing to something far grander than we ever imagined. By the end, you won't just see these monuments as relics of history, you'll see them as pieces of a forgotten puzzle waiting to be solved. So let's begin where all great discoveries start, with a question. What if the ancients knew more than we've ever dared to believe? The concept of sacred geometry isn't just about shapes, it's a window into how ancient civilizations perceived the very fabric of reality. Think of it like this: when you look at a snowflake under a microscope, you see intricate, repeating patterns. Nature loves symmetry, and so did the architects of the ancient world. Circles, spirals, and perfect triangles weren't just aesthetic choices, they were reflections of a deeper cosmic order, a kind of universal language. Take the flower of life, a pattern of overlapping circles that resembles a honeycomb. This design appears in the temples of Osiris in Egypt, etched into the stones of the Forbidden City in China, and even hidden within the sacred art of medieval Europe. How could such a precise symbol appear across cultures separated by oceans and millennia? What's even more fascinating is how these patterns align with natural phenomena. The golden ratio, a mathematical principle found in everything from seashells to galaxies, shows up in the proportions of the Parthenon's columns and the layout of Mayan pyramids. The Great Pyramid of Giza, its dimensions encode the number pi, a ratio so fundamental to circles that it feels almost intentional. And then there's the spiral, a shape seen in hurricanes, galaxies, and the very DNA that makes us who we are. Ancient builders carved this same spiral into Newgrange in Ireland, a tomb older than the pyramids, aligned so perfectly with the winter solstice that sunlight pierces its inner chamber like a laser. This isn't just coincidence, it suggests a shared understanding, a kind of lost science that connected these cultures. Some researchers believe this knowledge was preserved by secret societies or passed down through oral traditions. Others wonder if it points to something even more extraordinary, a forgotten global civilization, or perhaps an advanced culture that seeded this wisdom across the world. Whatever the truth, one thing is clear: sacred geometry wasn't just decoration. It was a map, a blueprint for harmonizing human creation with the rhythms of the cosmos. And if we learn to read it, we might just uncover secrets that rewrite history. The golden ratio is more than just a number. It's a fingerprint of the universe, appearing in the curve of a nautilus shell, the spiral of a sunflower, even the branching of our own veins. But what's truly staggering is how often this exact proportion, roughly 1.618, shows up in the sacred architecture of the ancient world. Take the Parthenon in Greece. Its facade forms a near-perfect golden rectangle, with columns spaced at intervals that mirror the ratio's mathematical harmony. Or the Great Pyramid of Giza, divide its height by half its base length, and you land shockingly close to the golden number. Even Hindu temples like the Kandariya Mahadeva are designed with doorways, towers, and altars following this divine proportion. This isn't just about aesthetics. There's something almost uncanny about how these cultures, separated by time and geography, arrived at the same mathematical solution. Modern architects use the golden ratio because it creates buildings that feel instinctively right to us, a phenomenon backed by studies showing our brains prefer these proportions. But the ancients didn't have laser measurements or calculators, so how did they achieve such precision? Some scholars point to tools like the Fibonacci sequence, where each number builds on the last, naturally approximating the golden ratio. Others believe these builders had access to lost techniques, perhaps even celestial guidance aligning their work with cosmic patterns they observed in the stars. The most compelling theory, these weren't arbitrary choices. The golden ratio may have been seen as a bridge between the earthly and the divine, a way to embed sacred meaning into stone. In Egypt, it's tied to the cycle of the Nile's floods, in Greece to the harmony of the gods, in India to the balance of creation itself. Whether by shared knowledge or some deeper, intuitive understanding, these civilizations were speaking the same geometric language, one that still whispers to us across the ages. The real question isn't just how they knew, but why they wanted us to notice. If you've ever stood at Stonehenge as dawn breaks on the summer solstice, you've witnessed something extraordinary. The sun rising perfectly between those ancient stones, as if the entire monument were designed to capture that single moment. But this isn't unique to Stonehenge. Across the world, from the jungles of Cambodia to the deserts of Egypt, temples and tombs lock into celestial events with eerie precision. Angkor Wat's long corridors align with the Draco constellation, while Egypt's Great Pyramid points to the pole star as it would have appeared 4,500 years ago. Even Teotihuacan in Mexico was laid out to mirror the Pleiades star cluster. These aren't accidents, they're proof of an astronomical sophistication that rivals modern observatories. What's truly baffling is how cultures with no known contact arrived at the same solutions. The builders of Newgrange in Ireland carved a narrow window above its entrance, allowing the winter solstice sunrise to flood the inner chamber, a feat requiring exact knowledge of the solar cycle. Meanwhile, halfway across the world, the Maya constructed El Castillo at Chichen Itza so that during the equinoxes, shadows create the illusion of a serpent slithering down the pyramid steps. Both cultures, separated by an ocean, were obsessed with tracking the sun's journey. Could this be evidence of a shared tradition, a kind of global curriculum taught to ancient architects? Some researchers suggest these alignments served practical purposes, calendars for agriculture or markers for seasonal rituals, but there's a deeper layer. Many of these sites also align with sacred geometry, their celestial patterns intersecting with golden ratios and Fibonacci spirals. Take Luxor Temple in Egypt. Its axis aligns with the winter solstice sunrise, while its proportions echo the golden mean. This fusion of sky and geometry implies the ancients saw the cosmos as a living, mathematical blueprint and their temples as mirrors of that order, the most tantalizing theory. These sites might form a network, a planetary grid of sacred points designed to harness earthly and cosmic energies. From the pyramids of Giza to Machu Picchu's Intihuatana stone, certain locations share latitude lines or geometric relationships as if plotted on a grand design. Whether this was deliberate or the result of some deeper, intuitive understanding, one thing is clear: the ancients didn't just observe the heavens. They spoke their language, etching it into stone for us to decipher. And every alignment we uncover is another clue in humanity's oldest mystery. From the sands of Egypt to the jungles of Guatemala, pyramids rise like silent sentinels of a forgotten age. What's astonishing isn't just their grandeur, it's the fact that these structures, built by cultures separated by oceans and millennia, share uncanny similarities. The stepped pyramids of Mesopotamia's ziggurats, the towering temples of the Maya, even the lesser-known but equally precise pyramids of China's Xi'an region, all echo the same architectural blueprint. Their angles often mirror celestial alignments, their stairways climb toward the heavens, and their chambers hum with geometric precision. How could civilizations with no known trade routes or shared languages arrive at nearly identical designs? Take the Great Pyramid of Giza and the Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan. Both are aligned within fractions of a degree to true north, a feat requiring advanced astronomical knowledge. Both incorporate sacred ratios, the golden mean in Giza, the pi proportion in Teotihuacan, as if following an invisible instruction manual. Even the terraced pyramids of Cambodia's Baksay Cham Krong, though adorned with Hindu iconography, follow the same step design as the pyramids of Caral in Peru, one of the oldest cities in the Americas. The sheer repetition of form defies the odds. It's like finding the same sentence written in different alphabets across the globe. Mainstream archaeology often chalks this up to convergent evolution, the idea that different cultures independently arrived at similar solutions to similar problems. Pyramids, after all, are stable structures, easy to build tall without collapsing. But that explanation feels thin when you consider the details. Why did so many cultures use pyramids not just as tombs or monuments, but as portals to the divine? The Maya believed their pyramids were portals to the underworld. The Egyptians saw theirs as stairways to the stars. Even the terraced pyramids of ancient Indonesia, like Borobudur, were designed as spiritual maps guiding pilgrims through cosmic realms. This has led to more daring theories. Some researchers point to the work of Graham Hancock and others who propose a lost global civilization, an advanced culture wiped out by a cataclysm like the Younger Dryas event, leaving behind fragments of knowledge that inspired later pyramids. Others, like author Robert Bovell, suggest these structures were built as a unified celestial map, with pyramids like Giza's aligning to Orion's belt as it appeared 12,000 years ago. Then there's the controversial ancient astronaut hypothesis, which argues that pyramid building techniques were gifted by extraterrestrial visitors, a notion popularized by Erich von Däniken, though widely dismissed by scholars. But perhaps the most compelling clue lies in the Earth itself. Many of these pyramids sit atop powerful ley lines, invisible energy grids said to crisscross the planet. The pyramids of Giza, the Mexican city of Teotihuacan, and even the submerged pyramid complex off the coast of Japan's Yonaguni Island all align along these purported energy pathways. Could the ancients have known how to tap into these forces, using pyramids as amplifiers or conduits? Modern experiments show that pyramid shapes can focus electromagnetic energy, and some researchers have detected unusual acoustic properties in chambers like the King's Chamber in Giza. Whether by accident or design, these structures seem to interact with unseen forces. What unites these theories is the growing sense that pyramid builders were part of a shared tradition, one that transcended geography and time. Whether through lost technology, celestial inspiration, or a deep intuitive understanding of Earth's energies, they left behind a puzzle in stone, and each new discovery, like the recent LiDAR scans revealing hidden pyramids beneath the Guatemalan jungle, only deepens the mystery. The pyramids aren't just relics, they're a message waiting for us to decipher the code. Beneath the surface of our planet, hidden from plain sight, lies a web of invisible pathways, lines of energy that some believe connect the world's most sacred sites. These are ley lines, a concept that straddles the line between science and legend. Picture them as ancient highways of power, threading through the earth, linking places like Glastonbury Tor, Machu Picchu, and the Great Pyramid in a vast, interconnected network. The idea isn't just poetic, it's rooted in observations that many of these sites align with uncanny precision, as if plotted on a cosmic map. Take Glastonbury Tor, that enigmatic hill in England crowned with a ruined tower. Local lore says it sits atop a major ley line, a conduit for Earth energies that pilgrims have sought for centuries. Then there's Machu Picchu, perched high in the Andes, where the Incas built their stone city along what modern researchers call spiritual pathways, lines that align with solstice sunrises and mountain peaks. And of course, the Great Pyramid, positioned at the intersection of multiple ley alignments, as if it were a nodal point in this global grid. But how could ancient cultures without satellites or advanced surveying tools have known about these lines? Some theorists point to dowsing, an ancient practice where rods or pendulums are said to detect underground water or energy. Even today, dowsers claim to feel surges of energy at ley line intersections, suggesting these pathways might be tied to Earth's magnetic fields or underground water flows. Scientists remain skeptical, but intriguing studies have shown that many sacred sites sit atop geological fault lines or areas with unusual electromagnetic activity. Could these natural phenomena have been interpreted as divine energy by the ancients, guiding them to build where the Earth itself seemed alive? The idea of a planetary energy grid takes this further. Imagine the Earth wrapped in a geometric pattern like an invisible net with ley lines forming its strands. Proponents of this theory, like researcher Ivan Sanderson, argue that certain vortex sites, places like Sedona in Arizona or the Bermuda Triangle, are where these lines cross, creating hotspots of unexplained phenomena. Even mainstream archaeology acknowledges that many ancient cultures chose building sites based on astronomical or geophysical markers. The Maya, for instance, often constructed temples over caves, believing them to be portals to the underworld pulsating with spiritual energy. What's fascinating is how this idea bridges worlds. On one side, you have modern geomancers and mystics who see ley lines as channels of life force, akin to the Kai of Chinese Feng Shui. On the other, there are geologists who note that fault lines and mineral deposits can produce measurable energy that might have been sensed, if not fully understood, by ancient builders. Whether you view these lines as mystical or geological, one thing is clear: the ancients seemed to know something about the Earth's hidden rhythms that we're only beginning to grasp. And if these lines are real, they might not just connect places, they could connect us to a lost way of seeing the world, one where the Earth itself was sacred, and its energy was the blueprint for civilization. The Vessica Piscis isn't just a geometric curiosity, it's a silent whisper from the ancient world, a shape so laden with meaning that it appears in sacred art, from the stained glass windows of Chartres Cathedral to the intricate yantras of Hindu temples. Imagine two perfect circles overlapping, their centers aligned so that the space where they meet forms an almond-shaped portal. This simple yet profound design, known as the Vessica Piscis, was far more than decoration. To the builders of Gothic cathedrals, it framed the luminous rose windows, symbolizing the intersection of divine light and earthly matter. In Hinduism, it became the foundation of the Shri Yantra, a cosmic diagram representing the union of masculine and feminine energies. Even early Christians adopted it as the ichthys, the fish symbol where the curved lines of the fish's body trace the Vesica's contours. What's striking isn't just its widespread use, but the consistency of its meaning across cultures. Whether carved into Celtic stone crosses or etched into Tibetan mandalas, the Vesica Piscis consistently represented a threshold, a doorway between realms. Medieval mystics called it the womb of creation, the shape from which all other geometric forms could be born. The Fibonacci sequence, the golden ratio, even the pentagram can be derived from its proportions. This wasn't accidental. The ancients seemed to understand that this shape held a secret, a blueprint for how energy moves between dimensions. Modern researchers have stumbled onto something intriguing. When sound waves or light frequencies interact, they create interference patterns, ripples that often form Vesica-like shapes. Could this be why so many cultures associated the symbol with portals? The Maya believed their cenotes, natural sinkholes, were gateways to the underworld, and their sacred art often depicted these openings as vesicas. Similarly, Tibetan monks construct sand mandalas with Vesica portals at their center, only to ritually destroy them, symbolizing the impermanence of physical reality. The parallels are too precise to dismiss as coincidence. Then there's the architecture. Walk into any Gothic cathedral, and you'll find the Vesica Piscis framing altars and arches, as if the builders were encoding a spiritual technology into the stone. Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland, famed for its ties to the Knights Templar, hides vesicas in its pillar carvings, aligned to catch specific sunlight angles during solstices. Even the layout of ancient cities like Cusco in Peru, said to be designed in the shape of a puma, contains Vesica-shaped plazas where ley lines intersect. These weren't arbitrary choices. They suggest a lost science of sacred space, where geometry acted as a bridge between worlds. The most tantalizing theory comes from quantum physics. Some scientists propose that the Vesica Piscis mirrors the behavior of subatomic particles, how they appear and disappear between dimensions. It's as if the ancients, without microscopes or particle accelerators, intuited a truth about reality's fabric. Whether through meditation, ritual, or some forgotten technology, they encoded this knowledge into their art and architecture, leaving behind a puzzle. The Vesica Piscis isn't just a relic of the past, it's an invitation to look deeper, to question whether the boundaries we perceive are as solid as they seem. The Fibonacci sequence is nature's hidden rhythm, a mathematical pulse that beats through the veins of the universe. You'll find it in the unfurling petals of a rose, the swirling arms of a galaxy, even the branching of trees as they stretch toward the sky. But step inside the sacred spaces of the ancient world, and this same sequence whispers from the stones. Cambodia's Bakong Temple, a towering pyramid of the Khmer Empire, spirals upward in tiers that mirror Fibonacci's numbers, each level's proportion echoing the sequence's relentless growth. Over in Greece, the Temple of Apollo at Delphi, home of the legendary oracle, aligns its columns and chambers with these same ratios, as if the architects sought to harmonize with the very pulse of creation. Why would ancient builders obsess over a string of numbers? The answer lies in what this sequence represents: growth, expansion, the very essence of life itself. When a sunflower grows, its seeds spiral outward in Fibonacci patterns to maximize space. When a nautilus shell widens, it follows the sequence's curve to maintain perfect balance. The ancients didn't just see these patterns as beautiful accidents. They believed them to be sacred codes, the handwriting of the gods. By weaving Fibonacci into their temples, they may have been attempting something extraordinary, infusing inert stone with the dynamism of living energy. Consider the Hindu concept of prana, the breath of life that animates all things. Temples like India's Brihadiswara are designed with Fibonacci-aligned corridors, creating a rhythmic flow of space that mimics the body's energy channels. Walk through them, and you're literally tracing a path shaped like a galaxy or a hurricane, a physical echo of cosmic order. Even the Mayans embedded Fibonacci spirals into the staircases of El Castillo, where the play of light and shadow during equinoxes creates the illusion of a serpent descending, a symbol of Kundalini energy rising. This wasn't just artistry, it was alchemy. Modern science confirms that Fibonacci proportions resonate with our brains in ways that feel inherently harmonious. Studies show that rooms built with these ratios reduce stress and enhance focus, as if the geometry itself emits a kind of silent music. Did the ancients know this? The precision of their designs suggests they weren't just guessing. At Egypt's Temple of Karnak, the hypostyle hall's pillars are spaced according to Fibonacci intervals, creating an acoustic environment where chants would reverberate at specific frequencies, perhaps to induce trance states. The most compelling question isn't how they achieved this, but why they went to such lengths. Some scholars argue these temples were more than places of worship. They were machines designed to tap into the Earth's energy grid using sacred geometry as a conduit. Others believe the Fibonacci sequence was a bridge between the material and the divine, a way to encode the universe's blueprint into human craftsmanship. Whatever the truth, one thing is undeniable. When you stand in these spaces, you're standing inside a living equation, a silent conversation between stone and stars that has endured for millennia. And the message is clear. The cosmos speaks in numbers. The ancients listened. Are we? Imagine holding a compass and tracing a perfect circle, then another, weaving them together into intricate patterns that seem to pulse with hidden meaning. This is the essence of the mandala, a geometric masterpiece that transcends cultures, appearing in the sand paintings of Tibetan monks, the medicine wheels of Native American tribes, and the towering stone temples of Southeast Asia. At first glance, these designs dazzle with their symmetry, but look deeper, and you'll realize they're not just decorations, they're portals, maps, even cosmic blueprints. Take Borobudur, the 9th century Buddhist temple in Indonesia. Rising like a stone mountain, its 9 terraces form a 3-dimensional mandala, each level representing a stage of enlightenment. Pilgrims don't just walk these paths, they ascend through realms of existence, spiraling toward nirvana at the summit. What's astonishing is how these designs echo across continents. The Hindu Sri Yantra, a labyrinth of interlocking triangles, mirrors the Navajo sand paintings' concentric circles. Both depict the universe's birth from a single point, radiating outward in geometric harmony. Even the stained glass rose windows of Gothic cathedrals, though draped in Christian iconography, follow the same mandala logic, light fracturing into sacred geometry. This isn't coincidence, it's evidence of a shared human intuition that certain shapes hold power. Modern neuroscience confirms this. Staring at mandalas reduces stress, synchronizes brain waves, even alters perception. The ancients didn't need fMRI scans to know this. They felt it, but here's the mystery. Why did so many cultures embed these designs into architecture? Borobudur's mandala isn't just carved into walls. It's the temple itself, a giant stone meditation device. Walk its corridors, and you're tracing a cosmic circuit, your footsteps activating what some researchers call sacred geometry's resonance. The same principle appears in Cambodia's Angkor Wat, where the temple's layout mirrors the Hindu cosmos. its moats symbolizing mythical oceans and its towers representing mountain peaks. These weren't just symbols, they were functional. Tibetan monks still destroy their sand mandalas after completion, teaching impermanence. Yet stone mandalas like Borobudur endure, suggesting the builders intended them as permanent energy anchors, architectural batteries humming with spiritual charge. The most compelling theory ties mandalas to Earth's hidden energy. Ley line researchers note that many mandala temples sit atop geological fault lines where electromagnetic activity is highest. Could these designs act as stabilizers, harmonizing chaotic energies? In Bali, temple mandalas align with Kanda Impat's sacred points where Earth's energy is said to converge. Even the Native American medicine wheel, often built with stone spokes radiating outward, aligns with solstice sunrises, blending celestial math with terrestrial power. The message is clear: mandalas weren't just art, they were technology, ancient interfaces between human consciousness and the universe's hidden codes. Perhaps that's their true purpose. In a world without satellites or blueprints, mandalas offered a way to map the invisible, to chart not just the stars overhead, but the mysteries within. Every circle, every line was a silent prayer that by shaping space we might reshape ourselves. Plato didn't just admire geometry, he believed it held the secrets of existence itself. In his ancient text Timaeus, he described 5 perfect shapes, now known as the Platonic solids, each with identical faces, angles, and edges. To him, these weren't mere abstractions. The tetrahedron symbolized fire, its sharp points mirroring flames. The cube stood for earth, stable and unyielding. The octahedron floated like air, the icosahedron flowed like water, and the dodecahedron, the most enigmatic, represented the cosmos, the very fabric of the heavens. But here's what's astonishing: these shapes don't just live in philosophy books. They're etched into the bones of reality, from the molecular structure of crystals to the vast architecture of sacred sites. Walk into the Vatican's secret archives, and you'll find Renaissance maps depicting the dodecahedron as a blueprint for the universe. In Egypt, the pyramid's inner chambers resonate with the proportions of the octahedron, as if the builders encoded harmonic frequencies into stone. Even modern science can't ignore their significance. The tetrahedron appears in the carbon bonds of diamonds, while viruses like the common cold often adopt icosahedral shells for maximum efficiency. Nature, it seems, agrees with Plato. These shapes are fundamental. But why would ancient temples embed these forms into their design? Consider the Great Pyramid subterranean chambers, where some researchers detect acoustic properties aligning with tetrahedral mathematics. Or the Sri Yantra's interlocking triangles, a two-dimensional echo of Platonic perfection. Then there are the crop circles, those mysterious formations that materialize overnight, often replicating these exact geometries with laser-like precision. Were these messages left by some unseen intelligence, or echoes of an ancient knowledge we've forgotten? The most provocative theory comes from sacred geometry researchers like Drunvalo Melchizedek, who argue these shapes are more than symbols, they're portals. Meditators report entering trance states when visualizing the Merkaba, a star tetrahedron said to bridge dimensions. Tibetan monks construct sand mandalas with Platonic underpinnings, then dismantle them to teach impermanence. Even quantum physics hints at their power. At the smallest scales, space-time may be pixelated into tetrahedral units, a theory called spin foam. Perhaps the ancients knew something we're only rediscovering, that these shapes are the alphabet of creation. When you stand inside a Gothic cathedral's vaulted ceiling, you're surrounded by the ghosts of octahedrons and cubes, their proportions designed to elevate the soul. When you hold a quartz crystal, its hexagonal facets whisper of deeper truths. The Platonic solids aren't relics of the past, They're a challenge to see the world not as chaos, but as a symphony of geometry waiting to be decoded. Deep beneath the earth on the island of Malta lies a place where sound doesn't just echo, it transforms. The Hypogeum of Hal Saflieni, a labyrinthine temple carved from solid stone over 5,000 years ago, holds a secret in its walls. Speak or chant in its central chamber, and your voice resonates at a frequency of 110 Hz, a tone scientists now know alters brain activity, shifting consciousness into a meditative state. But this isn't just some ancient acoustic accident. From Egypt's Great Pyramid to Ireland's Newgrange, sacred spaces worldwide were built to harness sound as a tool, a kind of spiritual technology. Take the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid. Its granite walls vibrate at specific frequencies, amplifying chants into a reverberating hum that early explorers described as the sound of the earth itself. Modern experiments show these frequencies align with alpha brainwaves, the same rhythms our brains produce during deep meditation or creative flow. Then there's Chavin de Huanta in Peru, where archaeologists discovered a network of canals that, when filled with water, transform the temple into a giant resonator. Blow a conch shell in certain corridors, and the sound ricochets in eerie, dolphin-like pulses, a phenomenon the ancient priests likely used to simulate divine voices. Why would cultures separated by oceans and millennia prioritize acoustics in their sacred designs? The answer might lie in the brain itself. Neuroscientists have found that frequencies between 90 and 120 Hz, the very range these temples amplify, reduce activity in the brain's language centers while heightening spatial awareness and emotional perception. In other words, they induce a state where the mind quiets its inner chatter and opens to transcendent experience. The Oracle of Delphi allegedly inhaled ethylene vapors to commune with the gods, but what if sound was another gateway? The most compelling evidence comes from Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, the world's oldest known temple complex. Its T-shaped pillars aren't just carved with animal motifs, they're arranged in circles that create standing sound waves when drummed or chanted within. Researchers suggest these vibrations could have synchronized the brainwaves of participants, creating a shared trance state. Similar acoustic effects appear in the subterranean temples of India's Ellora caves, where Vedic mantras resonate with uncanny precision, as if the stone remembers the chants of centuries past. This raises a radical possibility. What if sacred geometry wasn't just about visible shapes, but about invisible vibrations? The golden ratio governs how sound waves propagate, just as it governs the growth of seashells. The Fibonacci sequence appears in the harmonics of musical scales. Could these temples be giant instruments tuned to frequencies that unlock altered states? Indigenous traditions from the Aboriginal didgeridoo to Tibetan singing bowls have long used sound for healing and ritual. Perhaps the ancients were mastering this science on an architectural scale, crafting spaces where geometry and acoustics merge to bend perception. The Hypogeum's oracle chamber offers a clue. A niche carved into its wall resonates at that magical 110 Hz frequency, but only when someone speaks into it from a specific spot. Stand anywhere else and the effect vanishes. This isn't guesswork, it's precision engineering. Whoever designed these spaces didn't just understand sound, they weaponized it, using stone as a medium to shape human consciousness. Whether for communion with the divine, healing, or simply awe, one thing is clear. In the sacred geometry of the ancients, silence was never the point. The stones were meant to sing, and their song might just hold the key to a forgotten way of knowing. The quest to square the circle isn't just a mathematical riddle, it's a sacred obsession that spans civilizations. Imagine trying to draw a circle and a square with the exact same area using only a compass and straightedge. on the surface, it's impossible. Pi's infinite decimals defy perfect precision. Yet the Great Pyramid of Giza comes staggeringly close. Its base perimeter, when divided by twice its height, gives a value of 3.1416, nearly pi itself. This isn't an accident. It's as if the builders were whispering, "Here, the earth and heavens touch." Alchemists like John Dee, advisor to Queen Elizabeth I, saw squaring the circle as the ultimate spiritual metaphor, the marriage of material and divine. In their cryptic manuscripts, the square represented the physical world, bound by 4 elements and 4 directions, while the circle symbolized the eternal, the infinite cosmos. To solve this puzzle wasn't about geometry alone. It was about transcending duality, achieving the philosopher's stone's promise, turning base reality into gold. Even Leonardo da Vinci's Vitruvian Man, with its superimposed circle and square, echoes this yearning, the human form as the bridge between realms. But why would ancient architects embed this paradox into stone? Look beyond Egypt. In India's Vastu Shastra, temple layouts often fuse circular mandalas with square grids, mirroring the union of cosmic order and earthly function. China's Temple of Heaven features a circular altar atop a square base, reflecting the ancient belief that heaven was round and earth was square. The same motif appears in the sacred geometry of Islamic mosaics, where interlaced circles and squares create infinite patterns, a visual mantra of harmony. The most tantalizing clue lies in resonance. Modern physicists find that certain frequencies, when visualized, form geometric patterns called cymatics. A circle's vibration at higher harmonics spontaneously generates squares within its form, as if sound itself could square the circle. Could this be why so many sacred sites, from Stonehenge to Angkor Wat, incorporate these shapes? Were they designed not just to symbolize unity, but to generate it using architecture as a tuning fork for cosmic alignment? Perhaps the ancients understood something we're only rediscovering, that certain shapes hold power beyond their lines. The circle, with no beginning or end, speaks of cycles, the orbit of planets, the pulse of seasons. The square grounds us, its rigid edges mapping the stability of home and harvest. Together, they form a language older than words, etched into temples as a silent invitation to seek not just answers but wholeness. The mystery isn't in solving the puzzle, it's in recognizing that the act of seeking itself might be the key. The serpent slithers through the sacred architecture of the ancient world, not as a random decoration, but as a deliberate symbol pulsing with meaning. In the pyramids of Mesoamerica, Quetzalcoatl the feathered serpent winds down staircases in stone, his coils mirroring the path of the sun across the sky. Over in India, temple walls ripple with Kundalini serpents, their spirals climbing the spine of carved deities like living energy. Even the caduceus, that twin serpent staff wielded by Hermes in Greek myth, finds echoes in the DNA's double helix, a shape unknown to science until the 20th century. How could cultures separated by continents and centuries converge on this same sinuous imagery? One compelling theory points to the Earth itself. Beneath our feet, electromagnetic currents known as telluric energy flow through the planet's crust like invisible rivers. Ancient sites like the Temple of Apollo at Delphi were built atop fault lines where these currents surface, their oracle chambers vibrating with subterranean energy. The Hopi people of North America describe these pathways as the Snake People's Trails, while Chinese Feng Shui masters map dragon lines where Earth's Chi concentrates. Could the global serpent symbol be a coded reference to these hidden energies, a way to depict the living pulse of the planet? Then there's the biological angle. The Kundalini serpent, depicted coiled at the base of the spine in Hindu tradition, represents dormant spiritual energy, When awakened through meditation, it's said to rise through 7 chakras, unlocking higher consciousness. Strikingly, modern biophysics reveals that the human body generates electromagnetic fields along the spine, strongest at the sacrum, the very seat of Kundalini. Even more startling, the caduceus intertwined serpents mirror the structure of DNA with its twin sugar phosphate backbones. Did ancient mystics, through deep introspection or lost science, intuit the blueprint of life itself? The serpent's duality adds another layer. In some traditions, it's a creator like the aboriginal rainbow serpent shaping the land. In others, it's a tempter, as in the Garden of Eden. This paradox might hold the key. Serpents shed their skin, embodying rebirth. They move without limbs, defying earthly logic. Perhaps their ubiquity in sacred art isn't just about energy, but about transformation. The alchemical process of turning base matter into gold, ignorance into wisdom. The Mayans venerated Kukulkan, whose shadow slithers down El Castillo's steps during equinoxes, merging celestial mechanics with serpentine symbolism in a dance of light and stone. The most provocative interpretation comes from researchers like John Anthony West, who proposed that these symbols encode an esoteric science. The serpent's path, whether through chakras, temple corridors, or the heavens, might map a hidden technology of consciousness. Certain Tibetan monasteries still use serpentine meditation paths called Korlo, designed to induce altered states through movement. Similarly, the labyrinthine tunnels beneath Egypt's Giza Plateau, some theorize, were initiation chambers where candidates navigated serpentine passages to simulate Kundalini awakening. Whether as metaphor, energy map, or spiritual cipher, the serpent's presence in sacred geometry whispers of a lost lexicon, one where biology, geology, and cosmology intertwine. Its coils remind us that the ancients didn't just build temples, they engineered portals using symbols as keys to doors we're only beginning to perceive. And the most tantalizing question remains, if these serpents were meant to awaken something within us, what might happen if we learned to read their language? The alignment between the pyramids of Giza and the stars of Orion's belt isn't just a curious coincidence, it's a celestial cipher that stretches across time and space. When researcher Robert Bovell first noticed that the 3 main pyramids at Giza mirrored the 3 stars of Orion's belt, he uncovered something astonishing. But the puzzle doesn't end there. Over in Mexico, the pyramids of Teotihuacan, the Pyramid of the Sun, the Pyramid of the Moon, and the Temple of Quetzalcoatl also echo this same stellar arrangement, as if the builders on both continents were consulting the same cosmic blueprint. What makes this even more intriguing is the timeline. The pyramids of Giza are thought to have been constructed around 2500 BCE, while Teotihuacan flourished nearly 3,000 years later. How could 2 cultures, separated by an ocean and millennia, both choose to mirror Orion's belt in their sacred architecture? Bovell's Orion correlation theory proposes that these alignments were deliberate, a way to encode celestial knowledge into stone. But why? Some suggest it was a snapshot of the heavens at a specific moment, perhaps marking an epochal event. When Bovell overlaid the Giza pyramids onto a star map of Orion, he found they matched the constellation's position not in modern times, but as it would have appeared in 10,500 BCE, a date that aligns eerily with Plato's account of the lost civilization of Atlantis. The implications are staggering. If true, this would mean the pyramids weren't just tombs or monuments, they were part of a global timekeeping system, a way to preserve astronomical knowledge across generations. The Maya, too, tracked Orion meticulously, associating it with their god of rebirth. In Egypt, Orion was linked to Osiris, the lord of the afterlife. This shared reverence hints at something deeper. a universal belief that these stars held the key to humanity's origins or its destiny. But here's the twist. Not all scholars agree. Critics argue that the correlation isn't precise enough, that the pyramid's alignments could be coincidental, or that Bovell's theory relies too heavily on selective data. Yet even skeptics can't dismiss the broader pattern. From the Hopi mesas of North America to the temples of Cambodia, sacred sites worldwide seem to echo the stars. Whether by shared ancestry, lost technology, or some deeper intuitive wisdom, the ancients were clearly speaking a language written in stone and sky. The most tantalizing question isn't whether these alignments exist, it's what they were meant to tell us. Were they warnings, maps, or perhaps a countdown, ticking silently through the ages, waiting for us to decipher their meaning? One thing is certain, when we look at these monuments, we're not just seeing ruins. We're staring at a message from the past written in the stars. The stones of Stonehenge stand like silent sentinels of an ancient code, one that stretches far beyond the English countryside. When archaeologist Alexander Thom surveyed megalithic sites across Europe, he uncovered something startling. Many of these monuments were built using a unit of measurement he called the megalithic yard, approximately 2.72 feet. But here's where it gets strange. That same unit appears in the pyramids of Giza, where the so-called Egyptian royal cubit measures 1.72 feet, exactly half the megalithic yard. And thousands of miles away, the Moai statues of Easter Island were carved with proportions that align with these same measurements. How could cultures separated by continents and centuries have used the same invisible ruler? This isn't just about coincidence, it's about precision. The Great Pyramid's base perimeter, measured in royal cubits, equals 1,760 cubits, a number that mirrors the days in a lunar calendar. Stonehenge's inner circle, 100 megalithic yards in diameter, a figure that resonates with astronomical cycles. Even more perplexing, these units aren't arbitrary. The megalithic yard, when multiplied by the golden ratio, produces the exact length of the ancient Sumerian shusi, another standardized unit found in Mesopotamian ziggurats. It's as if these cultures were working from the same instruction manual, one written in the language of sacred geometry, who authored this global metrology. Some researchers point to the lost civilization of Atlantis, as Plato described its engineers using advanced measurements. Others suggest these units were derived from nature, the cubit from the length of a human forearm, the megalithic yard from the pendulum swings of a star's trajectory. But the most compelling clue lies in the Earth itself. The polar circumference of our planet, divided by 360,000, yields a value startlingly close to the megalithic yard. Could these measurements have been calculated by an ancient society with knowledge of the Earth's dimensions? The implications are profound. If these units were intentional, they suggest a level of coordination that rewrites history. The Inca's precise stonework in Machu Picchu, the flawless angles of Cambodia's Angkor Wat, all might be fragments of a forgotten global standard. Perhaps this metrology wasn't just for building. It could have been a language uniting sacred sites as nodes in a planetary network. The stones aren't just silent, they're speaking in measures we're only beginning to understand. The cosmic egg floats through the myths of civilizations like a silent witness to creation itself. In Hindu tradition, it's the Hiranyagarbha, the golden womb from which the universe hatched. The Egyptians envisioned Ra, the sun god, emerging from a celestial egg laid by the goose of chaos. Even the Orphic mysteries of ancient Greece spoke of Phanes, the primordial deity, bursting forth from a silver egg to bring light to the void. These aren't just poetic coincidences. When you step inside India's Brihadiswara temple, its towering Vimana, the dome-like shrine, curves like an eggshell, deliberately mirroring this universal symbol. The message is clear: the temple isn't just a building. It's a microcosm, a recreation of the moment existence cracked open. What's fascinating isn't just the symbol's ubiquity, but its precision. The egg's shape encodes sacred geometry. The golden ratio appears in the curve of its shell, the same ratio found in the spiral of galaxies and the chambers of the Great Pyramid. The Mayans built their observatories with egg-shaped domes to amplify celestial sounds, while Chinese Taoist temples used egg-like courtyards to trap and circulate Kai, the life force. This goes beyond metaphor. Modern physics reveals that the cosmic microwave background, the afterglow of the Big Bang, maps an almost perfect oval, as if the universe itself remembers its embryonic form. Could this shared symbolism point to a lost origin story? The Dogon people of Mali speak of the egg of the world, shattered by a divine vibration, a tale eerily similar to modern theories of cosmic inflation. Indigenous Australians describe the rainbow serpent coiling into an egg before birthing the land. These parallels suggest something extraordinary, a collective memory encoded in myth, preserved across millennia. Some researchers, like mythologist Joseph Campbell, argued these stories stem from a universal human experience, the awe of witnessing life emerge from unity. Others, like Graham Hancock, propose a more radical idea, that these myths are fragments of an ancient cosmology taught by a forgotten advanced culture. The most compelling evidence lies in the temples themselves. Brihadiswara's egg-like dome isn't just symbolic, it's acoustic. Chant inside it, and the sound reverberates at frequencies known to induce meditative states, as if the structure mimics the cosmic egg's primordial hum. In Egypt, the Benben stone, a pyramidion symbolizing the egg of creation, once capped obelisks, channeling sunlight into beams that some believe activated the stone's piezoelectric properties. Even Easter Island's moai, with their elongated heads and oval bases, face the sea like sentinels guarding the world's first dawn. The cosmic egg isn't just a relic of the past. It's an invitation to rethink our origins, whether as metaphor, architectural blueprint, or ancestral memory. It whispers a truth we're only beginning to grasp, that every temple, every myth, every star in the sky might be part of the same story, the story of a universe born from a shell, waiting for us to piece it back together. Graham Hancock's controversial hypothesis strikes at the heart of archaeology's greatest taboo, that long before the pyramids, before Stonehenge, even before recorded history, an advanced civilization thrived only to vanish beneath rising seas and shifting continents. Imagine a society with knowledge of sacred geometry so refined, they encoded it into monuments meant to survive millennia. The flood myths found in over 200 cultures, from Mesopotamia's epic of Gilgamesh to the Aboriginal Dreamtime, aren't just stories. They're potential eyewitness accounts of a cataclysm that erased this precursor culture, leaving only fragments of their wisdom embedded in the temples of later civilizations. Take the submerged city of Dwarka off India's coast, where sonar imaging reveals massive stone structures dating back at least 9,000 years older than the oldest Egyptian pyramids. Or the Yonaguni Monument near Japan, a sprawling underwater complex with terraces and staircases that defy natural explanation. These aren't random anomalies. They're pieces of a puzzle suggesting a global network of sites, now drowned, that once served as nodes of a forgotten world. Hancock argues that survivors of this catastrophe, whether Atlanteans, as Plato hinted, or another lost society, fanned out across the globe, seeding their knowledge among hunter-gatherer tribes. This could explain why the golden ratio appears in both the Parthenon and Mayan temples, or why pyramids sprouted on every continent. Critics dismiss this as pseudo-archaeology, pointing out the lack of definitive proof like tools or writings. But what if the proof is hiding in plain sight? The Göbekli Tepe complex in Turkey, dated to 11,600 years ago, features pillars carved with precise geometric patterns built by people supposedly still in the Stone Age. How could they achieve such sophistication without inherited knowledge? Even mainstream scholars admit the site rewrites the timeline of human civilization. And then there's the Piri Reis map, drawn in 1513 but depicting Antarctica's ice-free coastline with eerie accuracy, a coastline buried under glaciers for at least 12,000 years. The most tantalizing clue lies in the alignment of sacred sites. The Great Pyramid, Angkor Wat, and Mexico's Teotihuacan form a near-perfect line along the Earth's surface, a belt of monuments separated by oceans yet united by geometry. Hancock suggests these were built as recovery beacons, designed to reactivate lost knowledge when humanity was ready. It's a radical idea, but consider this. The Dogon people of Mali, isolated for centuries, knew of Sirius B, a star invisible to the naked eye, and described its 50-year orbit long before telescopes confirmed it. They claimed this wisdom came from amphibious beings who emerged from the waters after a great flood. Whether you view Hancock's theory as groundbreaking or fringe, one thing is undeniable: the ancients were far more sophisticated than we've credited them. The precision of their monuments, the depth of their astronomy, the persistence of their flood myths, all whisper of a legacy we're only beginning to decode. Perhaps the real mystery isn't whether a lost civilization existed, but why we're so resistant to the possibility. After all, if the stones could speak, they might tell us the greatest story ever buried. Beneath the soaring arches of Chartres Cathedral, hidden in plain sight, lies a secret language, one carved not in words but in geometry. The labyrinth embedded in its floor isn't just a medieval curiosity. Its 11 concentric circles mirror the proportions of the Great Pyramid's base. The rose windows, radiating with golden ratios, align with solstice sunrises as precisely as any ancient temple. Who designed these sacred blueprints? The answer might lie with the Freemasons, the enigmatic brotherhood whose symbols, compasses, squares, and all-seeing eyes echo the tools of the pyramid builders. For centuries, these societies guarded geometric knowledge like sacred flame, passing it down through rituals and coded architecture. But where did they get it? The connections are too precise to ignore. Freemasonic lore speaks of the lost word, a divine secret tied to Solomon's temple, a structure said to have been built with the help of celestial geometry. Medieval stonemasons, the ancestors of modern Freemasons, constructed cathedrals like Chartres using the same proportions found in Egyptian and Mayan temples. Even the layout of Washington, D.C., designed by Freemason Pierre L'Enfant, encodes sacred geometry in its street grids, with monuments aligning to form hidden pentagrams and hexagrams. This isn't just artistic flair, it's a tradition stretching back millennia, suggesting a thread of esoteric knowledge woven through history. But how did this survive? Some point to the Knights Templar, who allegedly discovered sacred geometry in Jerusalem's ruins during the Crusades. Others believe the Rosicrucians, a shadowy Renaissance-era group, preserved ancient blueprints in coded text. Even Leonardo da Vinci, a suspected member of these circles, embedded the Vessica Piscis, the same geometric portal found in Gothic cathedrals, into his paintings. The most compelling evidence, though, lies in the rituals themselves. Freemason initiation ceremonies involve tracing geometric shapes blindfolded, a practice eerily similar to Egyptian rites where initiates navigated labyrinthine tunnels to see with the mind's eye. The implications are staggering. If these groups truly inherited their knowledge from ancient builders, it rewrites our understanding of cultural continuity. Chartres Cathedral becomes more than a Christian monument, it's a palimpsest. Its stones whispering secrets older than religion itself. The real mystery isn't whether the Freemasons knew sacred geometry, but why they went to such lengths to protect it. Perhaps they understood what we've forgotten, that these shapes aren't just designs, they're keys to a forgotten science, a lost connection between earth and sky, waiting for someone to turn the lock. Modern technology is peeling back the layers of time, revealing secrets our ancestors never intended to be forgotten. In the dense jungles of Cambodia, LiDAR scans have pierced through centuries of overgrowth, exposing a sprawling metropolis around Angkor Wat, one that mirrors the stars of the Draco constellation with chilling precision. Temples, roads, and reservoirs align not just with earthly geography, but with celestial patterns, as if the entire city were a mirror held up to the night sky. Meanwhile, in the arid plains of Peru, satellite imaging has uncovered new Nazca lines, not just animal glyphs, but vast geometric grids stretching for miles, their perfect triangles and trapezoids invisible from the ground. These aren't random etchings, they're evidence of a planning scale that defies everything we thought we knew about ancient capabilities. The real shock isn't just the size of these discoveries, it's their mathematical sophistication. In Guatemala, LiDAR revealed a network of elevated causeways connecting Mayan cities, forming a spiderweb of sacred geometry across the jungle. These roads don't follow the easiest terrain. They adhere to strict alignments, intersecting at points that correspond with solstice sunrises and lunar standstills. Similarly, in the Saudi Arabian desert, previously unnoticed stone structures called mustatils form enormous rectangles, some over 1,500 feet long, all oriented toward the same celestial event. The sheer coordination suggests a society with shared astronomical knowledge spanning continents, or perhaps a single guiding intelligence behind multiple cultures. What's emerging is a pattern. The ancients didn't just build structures, they engineered landscapes. The new Nazca revelations include zigzagging lines that, when viewed from above, resemble massive electrical circuits, a design that resonates eerily with modern experiments showing these geoglyphs can conduct small electrical currents. In Turkey, the recently discovered Karahantepe site features stone pillars arranged in Fibonacci spirals, echoing the chambered Nautilus's growth pattern. Even more startling, when researchers superimposed these layouts onto global ley line maps, many sites aligned with underground water channels, suggesting the ancients might have been tapping into the Earth's natural energy flows. The implications are staggering. If cultures from Cambodia to Peru were encoding celestial and geometric knowledge into their landscapes, what does that say about their understanding of the planet? Some researchers propose these sites were part of a global navigation system, using sacred geometry as a kind of prehistoric GPS. Others believe they functioned as energy harvesters, their shapes designed to interact with telluric currents. The most haunting question isn't what we've found, it's what remains hidden. Less than 20% of the Amazon has been scanned with LiDAR. The Sahara's vast emptiness may conceal networks rivaling the Nazca lines. With every technological leap, we're not just uncovering lost cities, we're decoding a language written in earth and sky, one that's been waiting millennia for us to learn how to read. The idea that ancient temples might have been designed to interact with the fundamental fabric of reality isn't just speculative fiction. It's a hypothesis gaining traction at the intersection of archaeology and quantum physics. Picture this: inside the Great Pyramid's King's Chamber, the granite walls resonate at frequencies matching human brain waves, specifically the alpha state associated with deep meditation and heightened awareness. Modern experiments show that these frequencies can influence consciousness, altering perception and even facilitating transcendental experiences. But here's what's truly mind-bending. These same frequencies align with the vibrational modes of certain subatomic particles, suggesting a bridge between sacred architecture and quantum behavior. This isn't isolated to Egypt. In India's ancient temples, like the Hoysala in Karnataka, precise geometric arrangements create standing waves of sound during ritual chants, producing tones that mirror the resonant frequencies of quartz crystals, a mineral known for its piezoelectric properties, capable of converting mechanical energy into electrical signals. Could these structures have functioned as rudimentary quantum devices, harnessing vibrational energy to interact with the unseen fabric of reality? Theoretical physicists like Nassim Haramein propose that sacred geometry, particularly the flower of life pattern, encodes the fractal structure of spacetime itself, a concept eerily similar to modern string theory's description of reality as vibrating filaments of energy. The parallels grow even more intriguing when you examine the work of researchers like Dr. Konstantin Korotkov, whose documented changes in the bioelectrical fields of individuals meditating inside sacred sites. At places like Peru's Sacsayhuaman or Bosnia's Pyramid of the Sun, participants exhibit measurable shifts in their electromagnetic aura changes that correlate with altered states of consciousness. These findings echo the observer effect in quantum physics, where consciousness appears to influence the behavior of particles. Did ancient builders intuit this connection, designing temples as interfaces between mind and matter? Then there's the enigma of superconductivity. Recent studies reveal that certain megalithic stones, like those at Baalbek in Lebanon or Ollantaytambo in Peru, contain trace minerals that, when subjected to specific frequencies, exhibit zero resistance electrical flow, a hallmark of superconductivity. Temple complexes often sit atop geological fault lines, where telluric currents create natural electromagnetic fields. Combine this with the precise angles and materials of sacred geometry, and you have a recipe for structures that might amplify or focus these energies. The Göbekli Tepe site in Turkey, predating known metallurgy by millennia, features pillars engineered to vibrate at ultrasonic frequencies when struck, potentially interacting with the human brain's theta waves. The most radical interpretation comes from physicists exploring quantum entanglement, the phenomenon where particles remain connected across vast distances. Some suggest that the geometric alignment of global sacred sites, like the Great Pyramid, Stonehenge, and Machu Picchu, creates a network of entangled nodes, allowing instantaneous information transfer akin to quantum teleportation. It sounds like science fiction, but consider this. Indigenous traditions from the Aboriginal Australians to the Druids speak of song lines or ley lines as pathways of instantaneous knowledge transmission. Could these be metaphorical descriptions of quantum networks encoded in stone? Skeptics argue that attributing quantum awareness to ancient cultures is anachronistic, a case of seeing patterns where none exist. Yet the precision of these structures defies simple coincidence. The Great Pyramid's dimensions encode not just pi and the golden ratio, but also the Planck length, the smallest measurable unit in quantum physics. The Mayan calendar's long count synchronizes with the Milky Way's precessional cycle with an accuracy modern astronomy only achieved with supercomputers. Whether by lost technology, celestial guidance, or intuitive wisdom, the ancients seem to have left breadcrumbs pointing toward a unified theory of reality, one we're only now beginning to grasp. The stones aren't just silent, they're humming with secrets waiting for us to tune in. Mainstream archaeology has long waved away the geometric echoes between ancient sites as mere coincidence, a product of humans naturally favoring certain shapes or aligning structures with the sun for practical reasons. But when you stack up the evidence, the odds of these patterns repeating independently across continents and millennia start to seem less like chance and more like a whisper from history we've been too quick to ignore. Take the golden ratio. Its appearance in the Parthenon could be chalked up to Greek aesthetic genius. Its recurrence in the Great Pyramid might be a fluke of engineering. But when you find the same ratio governing the proportions of Cambodian temples, Mayan ball courts, and even the spiral of Newgrange's ancient carvings, the coincidence argument begins to fray at the edges. Skeptics argue that simple shapes like circles or squares are universal, bound to repeat across cultures. Yet sacred geometry isn't just about basic forms, it's about their precise mathematical relationships. The probability that multiple civilizations independently encoded pi into pyramid dimensions or aligned monuments to Orion's belt with identical precision stretches credulity. Even more telling are the outliers, the bizarre, non-intuitive choices. Why would builders of Göbekli Tepe, a site predating agriculture, carve pillars with intricate geometric patterns if they weren't conveying deliberate meaning? Why would the Maya, who lacked wheels, design cities like Tikal with street grids mirroring cosmic cycles down to the decimal? Then there's the human factor. If these connections were random, we'd expect inconsistencies, temples built haphazardly, or alignments that miss their celestial targets. Instead, we find near-perfect accuracy. The winter solstice sunrise at Newgrange illuminates its inner chamber for just 17 minutes annually, a feat requiring astronomical knowledge and painstaking precision. The pyramids of Giza align to true north with a margin of error smaller than many modern buildings. These aren't the works of cultures guessing their way forward, they're the signatures of intentional design. But let's entertain the skeptic's strongest point, convergent evolution. Just as unrelated species develop similar traits under similar pressures, perhaps disparate cultures arrived at parallel solutions. After all, pyramids are stable shapes, and tracking the sun is useful for agriculture. Yet this logic stumbles when faced with the esoteric. The golden ratio isn't just functional, it's deeply mathematical, requiring deliberate calculation. The acoustic properties of chambers like Malta's hypogeum, tuned to alter consciousness, serve no practical survival purpose. And why would cultures separated by oceans embed the same obscure symbols, like the flower of life, unless they shared a common source? The most compelling counter isn't just the volume of evidence, it's the consistency of its anomalies. When mainstream theories can't explain why the Dogon knew of Sirius B's existence, or how the Nazca traced mile-long geometric grids without aerial vision, it's worth asking if we've underestimated our ancestors. Maybe the truth lies not in dismissing these patterns, but in asking what they're trying to tell us. After all, science advances not by clinging to old assumptions, but by daring to question them. And the stones have been questioning us for centuries. Sacred geometry isn't confined to the pages of history, it pulses through the steel and glass of our modern world, proving these ancient principles still hold power. Take the Louvre Pyramid in Paris, its sleek glass panels forming a perfect golden ratio, a deliberate nod to the same proportions that shaped the Great Pyramid of Giza. Architect I.M. Pei didn't just design an entrance, he crafted a bridge between millennia, using geometry to evoke the same awe that ancient temples once did. Across the globe, the Sri Yantra, a complex web of interlocking triangles, has found new life in meditation centers and yoga studios, its fractal patterns believed to stabilize brainwaves and deepen focus. Even the spiraling curves of the Guggenheim Museum in New York echo the Fibonacci sequence, pulling visitors upward in a vortex of natural harmony. What's fascinating isn't just that we're still using these designs, it's why they resonate so deeply. Studies in neuropsychology reveal that spaces built with sacred geometry reduce stress and enhance creativity. The United Nations Meditation Room in New York, for example, centers around a monolithic slab aligned with celestial geometry, creating an environment where diplomats report heightened clarity. This isn't mystical guesswork, it's science. The human brain processes golden ratios and fractal patterns faster than random shapes, triggering dopamine release. In a way, we're hardwired to find beauty in the same patterns our ancestors revered. But the applications go beyond aesthetics. Engineers in earthquake-prone regions now study the stability of Inca stonework, where polygonal shapes distribute seismic forces with uncanny efficiency. Biomimicry researchers look to the hexagonal basalt columns of Giant's Causeway, replicating their strength in modern materials. Even urban planners are revisiting ley lines, with cities like Brasilia designed along geometric axes said to optimize energy flow. The irony, we're only now rediscovering what ancient builders knew instinctively, that geometry isn't just about form, but function. Perhaps the most telling sign of sacred geometry's enduring relevance is its presence in technology. Apple's headquarters in Cupertino, a perfect circle spanning a mile in circumference, mirrors Stonehenge's solar alignments. Silicon Valley's obsession with divine proportions in product design isn't just branding. It's a recognition that these ratios create intuitive, pleasing interactions. From smartphone screens to virtual reality interfaces, the golden ratio quietly shapes our digital experiences, proving that even in a pixelated world, the old blueprints still guide us. The question isn't whether sacred geometry still matters, it's whether we've ever stopped using it, just without realizing. Every time we pause in a cathedral-like airport terminal or feel calmer in a room with Fibonacci-inspired curves, we're responding to an ancient language written into our DNA. The monuments of the past weren't just built to last, they were built to teach, and as we weave their wisdom into our modern landscapes, we're not just honoring history. We're completing a conversation that began thousands of years ago. You don't need to travel to distant ruins or decode temple carvings to connect with sacred geometry. It's woven into the world around you, waiting to be noticed. Start by stepping outside. Look at the spiral of a pine cone, the radial symmetry of a sunflower, or the fractal branching of trees against the sky. These aren't just pretty patterns, they're living expressions of the same mathematical principles that guided ancient builders. Even your local park or backyard might hold clues. Notice how sunlight filters through leaves in Fibonacci sequences, or how shadows cast by fences create geometric grids at certain times of day. Nature is the original architect, and by observing it mindfully, you're tapping into a language older than civilization itself. For a deeper dive, seek out nearby sacred sites. You might be surprised what lies hidden in plain sight. Centuries-old churches often incorporate golden ratios in their arches. City parks sometimes align with solstice sunrises. Apps like Ley Line Tracker or Sun Surveyor can transform your smartphone into a modern-day dowsing rod, revealing hidden alignments between landmarks and celestial events. Stand where ancient stone circles once stood, and you might feel a subtle shift in energy, a hum of connection to those who once marked these spots as holy. In Japan, visitors to Mount Koya's mandala-lined temples report heightened awareness after walking their precise circuits. In Sedona, hikers swear by the vortex sites where intersecting ley lines amplify meditation. You don't need to believe in mysticism to appreciate how these places focus attention and quiet the mind. If travel isn't an option, bring sacred geometry into your daily rituals. Sketch the flower of life in a journal, noticing how its overlapping circles mirror cellular structures. Arrange crystals or candles in geometric grids and observe how the space feels different. Many report a sense of calm or heightened intuition. Even cooking can become an act of reverence. Slice an apple horizontally to reveal its pentagram core, or arrange herbs in spirals reminiscent of the Milky Way. The act of creating these shapes, however simple, aligns your consciousness with an ancient rhythm. Technology offers unexpected gateways too. Virtual reality tours let you wander Angkor Wat or Chartres Cathedral from your living room, examining proportions that textbooks can't convey. Podcasts like Sacred Geometry Daily break down complex concepts into bite-sized meditations, while YouTube channels overlay temple blueprints with celestial maps, revealing hidden connections. For the hands-on explorer, 3D printing lets you hold precise models of Platonic solids or pyramid chambers, turning abstract math into tangible wonder. The most profound discoveries often come when you least expect them. A morning coffee stain drying in Fibonacci swirls, the way streetlights form perfect hexagons in fog. These mundane moments can become portals if you're paying attention. Sacred geometry isn't locked in the past. It's a living dialogue between humanity and the universe. By engaging with it, whether through travel, tech, or simple observation, you're not just learning history. You're adding your voice to a conversation that's been unfolding for millennia, one shape at a time. The notion that extraterrestrial beings might have guided ancient temple construction isn't just the stuff of science fiction. It's a theory that sparked fierce debate among researchers for decades. Ancient astronaut theorists point to artifacts like the Sumerian cylinder seals, which depict enigmatic figures holding what appear to be advanced tools or devices, as potential evidence of otherworldly intervention. These carvings, dating back over 5,000 years, show humanoid figures with elongated heads and objects resembling modern-day antennae or measuring instruments. Could these be symbolic representations of gods, or literal depictions of visitors from the stars sharing geometric knowledge? The controversy deepens when you examine the precision of ancient sites. Take the precision-cut stones of Punku in Bolivia, where granite blocks were shaped with such accuracy that they interlock without mortar, their edges sharper than what some modern machinery can achieve. Or consider the sudden leap in architectural sophistication seen in Egypt's Old Kingdom, where the Great Pyramid's construction techniques remain unmatched even by today's engineering standards. Mainstream archaeology attributes these feats to human ingenuity and gradual technological progress, but proponents of the ancient astronaut hypothesis argue that the timeline is too abrupt, the knowledge too precise. Skeptics counter that attributing these achievements to aliens undermines the brilliance of ancient cultures. They point to the ingenuity of the Maya, who developed a calendar system more accurate than Europe's at the time, or the Indus Valley civilization with its advanced urban planning and water management. Yet even within these examples, anomalies persist. The Dogon people of Mali, for instance, possessed detailed knowledge of Sirius B, a star invisible to the naked eye centuries before telescopes confirmed its existence. Their oral traditions speak of amphibious beings called the Namo, who descended from the sky with celestial wisdom, coincidence or fragments of a forgotten contact. The debate takes a fascinating turn when you consider the universality of certain myths. Cultures separated by oceans describe star visitors in strikingly similar terms. The Vimanas of Hindu texts, the flying shields of Aboriginal Dreamtime stories, even Ezekiel's biblical vision of a wheel within a wheel. These narratives often intertwine with geometric symbolism, the mandalas of Vedic lore, the celestial maps of the Inca, the sacred circles of the Druids. If these stories were purely metaphorical, why do they align so closely with the mathematical blueprints of sacred sites? Perhaps the most compelling middle ground lies in the work of researchers like Dr. Jacques Vallée, who suggests that the extraterrestrial hypothesis might be too narrow. Instead, he proposes that these encounters, whether physical, psychological, or interdimensional, represent a phenomenon humanity has interpreted through the lens of its own evolving understanding. In other words, the geometric knowledge encoded in ancient temples might not come from literal space travelers, but from a deeper, more elusive source that our ancestors perceived as divine. Whether you view these theories as fringe or groundbreaking, one thing is undeniable. The questions they raise challenge us to rethink the boundaries of history. The stones of Puma Punku, the seals of Sumer, the star lore of the Dogon, they're not just artifacts. They're invitations to look beyond the familiar, to consider that the story of human civilization might be far stranger and far more interconnected than we've ever dared to imagine. The intersection of sacred geometry and spirituality isn't just philosophical, it's experiential, a doorway to states of consciousness that defy conventional explanation. Picture a Buddhist monk tracing a mandala in colored sand, his focus so intense that the geometric patterns become a living meditation. Or envision a European mystic in the Middle Ages, gazing at the rose window of a cathedral, its golden ratios pulling their awareness into a transcendent trance. These aren't just artistic traditions, they're ancient technologies of the mind, designed to harmonize human perception with the unseen architecture of the universe. Modern neuroscience now confirms what mystics have long claimed. Gazing at geometric patterns like the flower of life or Sri Yantra synchronizes brainwaves, shifting the mind into theta states. The same frequencies associated with deep meditation, lucid dreaming, and even creative breakthroughs. Consider the design of Egypt's Temple of Karnak. Its hypostyle hall, with its forest of towering columns, isn't merely grand, it's a carefully tuned resonator. Chant a mantra in that space, and the sound bounces between the pillars at frequencies between 90 and 110 Hz, a range proven to reduce stress hormones and activate the prefrontal cortex. Similar acoustic effects appear in Malta's hypogeum, where voices in the oracle chamber vibrate at precisely 110 Hz, a tone that studies linked to heightened empathy and reduced ego-centric thinking. These structures weren't just places of worship, they were consciousness-altering devices, their geometries engineered to dissolve the boundary between the physical and the numinous. This fusion of form and spirituality extends beyond architecture. Tibetan monks still construct intricate sand mandalas only to ritually destroy them, teaching impermanence through geometric impermanence. Hindu practitioners use yantras, geometric diagrams, as focal points for meditation, believing their angles channel divine energy. Even indigenous Australian dot paintings, with their intricate fractal patterns, serve as maps of the dreamtime, guiding initiates through altered states. What unites these traditions is the recognition that certain shapes act as conduits, aligning the individual with larger cosmic rhythms. The implications for modern seekers are profound. Biofield researchers have documented measurable changes in the human energy field when subjects meditate on sacred geometry, with patterns like the Metatron's cube generating symmetrical shifts in electromagnetic aura readings. Meanwhile, quantum physicists explore how geometric configurations might influence the behavior of subatomic particles, suggesting that these ancient designs interact with the very fabric of reality. Whether through the lens of spirituality or science, one truth emerges. Sacred geometry isn't just about observing patterns, it's about participating in them, allowing their silent mathematics to recalibrate perception. The temples of the past were more than stone and mortar. They were invitations to step beyond the visible and into the